Okay, on the left-hand side, playing as the Magenta Psycho, we have MagicCat, their teammate. Playing as the Red Latin Confederation, we have Manticore, together forming Team Sakura. Their opponent, playing as the Cyan, United States of America, we have Pushme, and his teammate, we have Fuluren, forming SREF. In Limbo, a bit of an odd pick to see for the first game, as most of the SW Chinese teams have actually tried to avoid it until recently. I think they've been trying to learn the map. Bit of a big one as well, naval aspects as well. We've got tech machine shops over on each side for each player, secret labs up at the top, if anyone wants rejuvenators. We've got large ore field expansions out here, which make up the majority of money left on the game. So if you don't expand up here, you actually run out of money quite rapidly with only just these two ore fields. And preemptive sentry gun going down for the attack dogs in an effort to deny scouting out there from Manticore, as Manticore seems to be going all out on the conscript spam here today. Not so much of the same response from Fuluren keeping it relatively low on the conscript count. I think Manticore here going to try and contest and take over both the oil derricks in the centre. No such contestant at the top, however, as pushme just claims their oil derrick, and MagicCat with the Soul Engineer is going to do the same. As it now becomes quiet on the front line. A couple of GGIs clearing out some hedges here next to the ore field, which is an interesting call.
Beacon
detected. Going to try and do. Got a beacon down here from Manticore, beaconing the war factory and communicating something. I'm not entirely sure what. They may be pinging it for an exposed, i.e. please bomb buggy this later on down the line, or just to let them let his teammate know that, hey, your enemy has war factory out as well. As always, the pings forever remain a mystery. Again, not a lot of action up at the top here, all quiet. It's just conscripts having staring contests at each other, people walking away. Game appears to be suffering a tad. Not sure why. But performance is mostly stable. Our attack dog is you see Einstein's just walking around and taking in all the sun next to their park bench. Soul Jaguar tank out here for Manticore, but not being followed up by more. Instead, we simply see more war miners in the build queue. Fuluren making no such action, as this is not good. Oh, no, okay. Game recovers. Kurosaki, the tunnels will no longer protect us. God, this map is just such a
beacon detected.
Another beacon detected. Second war factory down for Fuluren, as he's going for another test. I think we're going to see a third war factory, as we're now starting to see not Mantis tank, sorry, Jaguar tank production coming out on the field for Fuluren. Looks like Manticore, having already constructed his Tesla reactor, going for a third factory himself. Both the Latin players going to make large tier 1 plays. Oh wait, no! No, Fuluren's going radar instead of third factory. Meanwhile, we have a couple of Storm Children out on the field, looking like they're just attempting to get scouting off. The first couple of Marauders out here for MagicCat, as one of them is sniped down in return for a Stormchild, but that is a worthwhile trade in terms of cost, I think. Actually no, the jets are probably more expensive, but it is a Marauder. Manticore here leaving his conscripts on his ore field. He may want to move them so the miners can actually mine out the ore, whereas that may find his economy starting to feel a little bit gimped. As we don't have so much conscript spam out from Fuluren, instead Fuluren going for a mortar quad focus out here. On most of his money, he's on 6 miners, compared to Manticore sitting quite comfortably on 7. But Fuluren, actually no, Fuluren's got a relatively stable economy. It's not in the gutter, but it's not great either. Manticore, the same can be said for Manticore, who's gone Field Bureau. It's an interesting call out here for Manticore, especially if you're playing as Latin here, because Latin don't tend to need the Field Bureau when it comes to their tier 1 pushes. Is he going to be making pyros? Nope, no pyros out the barracks queue as of this moment. He's gone triple racks as well, bloody hell. So now looks like to make his presence felt. I mean, generally, sure, it's been established that you can go, in fact, you have to go Field Bureau in Soviet mirrors, but not so much a Latin mirror, because Latin by themselves already have all the tools at their disposal to need to forgo Field Bureau. They've got mortar quads.
Beacon detected.
They've got one of the best MPTs in the game. MagicCat spies the bomb buggy, and it looks like Manticore is indeed on station to respond, but the bomb buggy slips past the main task force. It's going to slip past 2 more Jaguar tanks, but gets picked up by the 3rd. Good attempt there from Fuluren. Didn't go down low enough, I reckon, and it was spotted by MagicCat. As we start to see the Marauders starting to group up here, as both players are about to fold on top of Fuluren. Pushme here, his only task force consists mainly of IFVs. We've got no GIs, nothing to stop the infantry ball, and nothing to cut down on the Jaguar Marauder blob. As Fuluren, having to tank this on his own, gets predictably demolished in the 2v1. Space Laser absolutely decimates the infantry force from Manticore. Look at all the burning bodies flying around. But I don't think Space Laser itself is going to cut it and save them from this disaster. You see everything going down here. We've got Tesla coils, most of the forces being destroyed. I don't know what the objectives for Manticore and MagicCat here. We've got Tanya IFV now on the field as well. They can keep, well, was a Tanya IFV, back in the IFV now. They can keep the Tanya IFV alive. They may actually be able just to stave off this attack in of itself, but the Marauders are posing the biggest threat here. But there's no micro of the Tanya IFV, and it's focused down by the Jaguar tanks. As Tanya just simply evacuates, leaves. We've seen the War Factory and the refinery go down here from Fuluren. Had mined out the ore field, but the infrastructure loss is quite large. The Jaguars move up to take on the Mercury uplink, to settle on the Mercury instead of AFHQ. Grand cannon down in the defense, but that thing does have minimum range, which the Jaguar tanks are now under. As Fuluren is now tier 3 himself, but I don't think that's going to be enough to bail him out. His allies are about to lose their Mercury uplink, so that's going to mean no Abrams production. Yep, Mercury is down. They've lost the AFHQ as well. Without the prerequisite tech structures, allied tier 3 is actually unavailable because of how it's all structured. If they lose those, it's as good as losing the tier 3. Except they're slightly faster to bring back online. More Marauders come in, as it looks like they attempt to finish off the final War Factory of Fuluren. As Fuluren breaks up the Iron Curtain, but I don't think Curtain's going to be enough to save them. As here comes the second wave. Again, more Jaguars, Pyros. Morales being focused down by the Marauders here, but barely escapes. Although I don't think he's going to live. Yep, no, Morales has been killed. Instant shelter down here in Fuluren's base. As we see a Desolator deploy and attempt to clean up the Jaguars. And a Soul Cryocopter out here from Fuluren, as there's another Cryocopter going down towards Manticore's base, but I don't think that will be enough to turn the tide. There's nothing to take advantage of what that Cryocopter can freeze, and MagicCat's already well on top of it. There are Archers driving straight to it. Morales is going to be clearing out the instant shelter here. Conscript thinks he can 1v1 Morales. Hammer defense goes down, as most of the focus is now shifting towards Pushme and threatening his base rules. Re-established their Mercury uplink and is now working again on Abrams production here. But the Marauder force is simply at this stage unstoppable without any Abrams on the field. And it doesn't really matter how little damage they do to buildings, it's still enough, and it'll still take them out and give them time. Look at that. 3 shots to the power plant, almost 2 shots it, as Tanya IFE goes back into the fray on the front line down here. Marauders again continue to cripple allied power networks here. They sell off the warp shop in an effort to restore tier 3. They have restored tier 3. Tanya IFE was going to town on the Jaguars here, but is mopped up by said Jaguars. Morales continues to try and get some good snipes off, but it again continues to look bad for SREF. Switching to Vultures in order to try and take advantage of the lack of AA. But Soul Vultures on their own are not going to be enough to stem the tide here, as all it would take was an introduction of a couple of flat half-tracks. Yep, pushme capitulates, and I expect Fuluren to follow suit. There we are. Over in 10 minutes.